what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Texas Platinum. Trevor's back in the mix. Longhorns taking on Iowa State this week, who, after the new CFP rankings just came out, Texas ranked 17, Iowa State ranked 13. Pretty big game here in Austin on Black Friday. So it's going to be an interesting game. A lot's on the line for Tom Herman in Texas this week. So we'll get into all of that. We'll also talk about, recruiting right now, because, Quinn Ewers just flipped to Ohio State, and then another 5-star just flipped to Ohio State from Texas, and another one's trending that way also. So it's just getting bad on the recruiting front, and there's no end in sight on the recruiting issue. So we'll talk about that. And, but as always, please like and subscribe to the video, comment. Really helps us grow, and we thank y'all for doing that. So please do that. What's up, Trevor? How you feeling about this Iowa State game and everything?
I'm not feeling horribly bad, to be honest, and maybe I'm just a bit of an Iowa State hater, but I don't feel as worried about this game. Maybe I should, considering how badly they beat who was it? Kansas State. Yeah, Kansas State last weekend. But I mean, they're very much a reflection of us. They definitely have, quarterbacks, I would say, are very comparable this year. Everyone was very much raving about Brock Purdy, kind of like we were about Ellinger going into their senior year. Is Purdy a senior or junior? I think he's a senior as well, from my memory.
I think he's a junior, actually, but I could be wrong.
Really? I think
he's
played...
a true junior. He's just played a while because he played as a freshman.
Okay. Cool. But yeah, I mean, kind of like Ellinger, a lot of people were raving about him. Some saying he was even the best quarterback prospect in the Big 12, which I always thought was a bit of a reach. And he's had a very off and on year, kind of like Sam. Their stat line is very similar, with the completion percentage and QBR and yards. And I mean, Sam's obviously got more touchdowns. Very few people in the country can really match him on the touchdown side of things, but optics as well. I mean, very much on and off. So between that and a lot of the talented players that they have at key skill positions, which we're going to hop into in a minute, they just really remind me as mirror images of each other. And it'll be an interesting matchup, that's for certain. But I don't know if I'm quite as scared as a lot of people are. And maybe I'm, going to be fooled by that. But what are your thoughts on this team?
Yeah, it definitely is kind of a reflection of ourselves, kind of a defense carrying the load, but they also have some players on offense that shine a lot, like Breece Hall and stuff like that. But it's also another similarity we have is Brock Purdy, at least stat-wise, he's not having the year that they thought. He's 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's not great for what we expected from Brock Purdy. And it's kind of like Sam Ellinger. I mean, we expected more this season. So kind of a slow season for the quarterbacks, but they are picking it up recently, or at least Brock Purdy is. I wouldn't say Sam is. But, I mean, it seems like they always have a good receiver, and they do this year, it seems like, with Xavier Hutchinson.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a typical Iowa State team, and I like how we fared against them recently in the last couple of years. I know we lost last year in a heartbreaker, and we'll get into that. But, I like you. I feel more confident in a game like this than I did, I don't know, against like West Virginia and stuff like that for whatever reason, because it's a ranked game and we're not going to be sleepwalking. So, yeah, I have some confidence in this game.
And we're pretty well rested too, coming off of a bye week, and then with Kansas being canceled, or at least postponed. We'll see what happens with that. Our team should be very fresh, at least from the outside looking in. So, it'll be an interesting matchup.
Definitely. And, it's Friday at 11 a.m., and I heard it's supposed to be raining and, like, messy weather. So
really?
Yeah, it could be a big old slot fest Friday, which I think that probably bodes well for Iowa State more than us, just because, Breece Hall is such a constant. And I'll expand on Breece Hall a little bit. Breece Hall is like one of the few 4-stars that's actually like gone to Iowa State recently. And he's like really, living up to the hype out of high school. Because I remember him being hyped up because like they don't get anybody like that very often, that talented. And he's just like I've watched him a lot this year, and he's just consistently every week just making huge like big plays. Just he never has a bad game, it seems like, and he's a very balanced running back with good good strength and speed. It's a good combo. He's very fluid when he moves, and I mean this is definitely the best running back we're going to be seeing all year. Better than Chuba Hubbard, and he's got a better O-line than Chuba Hubbard as well. So I think our defense, which has been playing well, is definitely going to have their hands full, though, because we've been playing some lackluster Big 12 offenses recently.
Yeah.
And Brees Hall and Brock Purdy, they're going to definitely test us a little bit more on Friday.
Yeah, I believe Hall leads the nation in yards, rushing yards, and already has over 1,000, which is amazing, considering that I believe Iowa State had a game canceled, and we still got at least a couple more games, plus none of the big filler games that like most regular seasons have. So it's pretty remarkable that he's already hit that milestone. I believe I know that he's rushed for over 100 yards in literally every game this season. So definitely a workhorse back for this team. But that's and that's very impressive considering that they have a quarterback like Purdy, and they have really good offensive weapons as well, like Hutchinson, and they have a two tight end tandem that is also very good. That you saw a lot of if you watched the Iowa State Oklahoma game at the beginning of the season. They were definitely thrown to those tight ends. I think a lot of the game. So yeah, he is a guy to be feared. I'm sure he'll make the Doak Walker award ceremony if they have that this year as one of the nation's top backs. He definitely deserves a recognition for that. Don't think he's going to get any Heisman invitation with these quarterbacks this year, but expect to see him there because he's really killing it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you mentioned Charlie Kohler yet, but
I've not. Well, I hinted at it. The tight ends.
Yeah, he might be their best weapon, more so than Xavier Hutchinson. He's from Norman, Oklahoma, so I'm sure he's got some natural dislike for Texas. But no, I think he's like one of the best tight ends I've seen in the Big 12 in a long time. And he's got 4 touchdowns on the year, but he's always there. I mean, I remember against Oklahoma, he was just dicing them up. Like they couldn't contain him. Like it was always there, like to bail him out, and then he would just win balls, make tough catches. So yeah, and their one of their 2 losses against Louisiana was it Lafayette.
Yeah,
he didn't play that game, so I think that played a big role in them losing that game because he's a very important part of their offense, and so I expect a big day from Charlie Kohler, and I definitely think that for Iowa State, our linebackers, they have improved, but I still think that's a point of weakness, especially when you go over the middle on our defense. I think that's where they could try to get some yards downfield. I mean, we saw it with West Virginia. They had their most success going over the middle and underneath as well. So, yeah, I would definitely hope that Chris Ash and all the defensive players are ready for Charlie Kohler because, you focus on Brees Hall, then Charlie Kohler just over the top, little 5-10 yard pass, and then he's in the open space. So that'll be definitely one to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that's probably who I'm most worried about. That and the big plays to Hutchinson. I'm on kind of a different tangent. I'm really curious if I hope and wonder if Jared Wiley, once he gets fully developed, if he'll be a very comparable player to Kolar, because both big body guys, and I mean, it's kind of a basic comparison, just comparing tight ends, but just the way that they play. Obviously, Wiley's a little bit bigger than him, but I don't know. I see a bit of comparison there. But yeah, that's who I'm most concerned about on the offensive side because I don't think have we really faced any teams this season that have had really big body guys that go over the middle like that. I don't think so. I mean, maybe I think Oklahoma State has a big tight end on their team that has been around for a while, but maybe I'm mistaken on that.
Austin Stogner from Oklahoma, he died.
Yeah,
He
you're
caused
right.
problems for us.
You're
So yeah,
right.
that's kind of
And
why.
even then, I don't think he played to his he dropped a lot of balls in that game, if I remember correctly. So you're right. Stogner is another big tight end that we might have to face at the end of the year if we keep winning like this. Yeah. Should we talk about Hutchinson for a bit since we've mentioned him a few times already?
Yeah, we can. I mean, I don't know too much about Xavier Hutchinson. He just kind of bursted on the scene for me. Usually, I know he scored a lot last week against Iowa State, or at least had a big game
Yeah.
against Kansas State. So
I mean, he's more of a, from what I've seen, looking at the stat chart on him, he doesn't have a lot of touchdowns on the season. He's only got like 4, which isn't a teeny bit either. I mean, it's a decent amount, but really it's his yards and his receptions that stand out to me. 41 receptions, over 500 yards on the season. So I mean, he's still not like someone like a Duvernay per se last season, if we want to talk about our own team, but still definitely the by far the most targeted guy on the offensive side of the ball. So obviously Purdy really likes that guy a lot, at least this season. So I expect to see that. Our secondary has been playing a little bit better, much like the rest of our defense. We've seen a lot of good stuff, especially out of Thompson and Chris Brown, even though we like to hate on him a little bit for his desire to flex every play that he interferes with. Well, not interferes, but every play that he makes, he likes to flex on people. So, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. Maybe we'll finally get some Caden Stearns action with this receiver core that we'll be facing.
yeah, I expect him to make some plays. Our defense is prone to giving up a little bit through the air, not as bad as last year by any means, but yeah, I would not be surprised to see him get past us a few times.
Yes,
But defensively, Iowa State, they're led by Mike Rose, their linebacker, but he's got like 40 tackles on the year. The thing about him though is he's questionable this week for the game. I don't know. I think it's a leg injury he has, so that could be some really good luck for Tom Herman if he's
really?
held out and can't play.
Hmm.
So, I think he's the linebacker that had that amazing interception against TCU. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, that was very impressive. So he's a great player, and he's one of the guys that's in the running for Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. So, I mean, we saw it with Terrell Bernard. He just like shred us up. So, I would definitely hope that he's held out, but that he gets a full recovery and all that good stuff.
Right. Yeah. What other big players do they have on the defensive side?
I mean, Jaquan Bailey's been there forever, but for whatever reason, I guess he's been out with injury and stuff. He doesn't have that super impressive stat line. But the other linebacker, Jake Hummel, I mean, he's got like 33 tackles on the year. So I mean, he's a tackling machine. Looks like their linebackers definitely, and that's going to happen in the 3-4 that they run with John Heacock. It's definitely a linebacker-led group, and they have good linebackers. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean,
and then they got a really good safety in Greg Eisworth.
Oh yeah.
So be on the lookout for him too. They may have a field day with our offense, to be honest. We'll see. It'll be. I think that'll be much like these past few games. I think that'll be the tail of the tape is how well does our offense do? Because I do think that our defense can hold up. Yeah, it's just really a matter of can Sam play, a decent game right now, and then can our receivers actually catch the ball and make plays? That's, I think, kind of the main key point, and I would say that is for the rest of the year at this point, because our defense seems to continue to make strides game after game, which is good. but our offense is still struggling. It's nice to see Bijan starting to kind of make a name for himself, so that'll also be a key in being that I think Ingram is probably going to miss this game. This may be his last game that he misses, based off of what Herman said in the last press conference. So, yeah. But we can hop into that once we start talking about Texas.
Yeah. So I'm concerned about our offense against their defense because I remember last year, it was a very frustrating game to watch. We could not move the ball. I mean, we had some success through the air, but we could not rush the ball at all.
No.
It was like mind blowing. We looked horrible.
I don't even think we hit 50 yards. It was
Yeah.
bad. I think it was like 40.
And we kept on running it too until like it was too late. So that was just another one of those, super frustrating games. So I would imagine that Mike Yurcich and Herman have been over that film and definitely going to try to open it up more early on Friday. But the thing is, like with the weather and all that, if it is a rainy day in DKR, that can cause a lot of issues. So
I'm going to actually look this up right now because I was not aware that it was going to – not that I'm going, but yeah, you're right. It has a storm cloud for Friday.
Yeah.
Interesting. Be in the 50s probably. High 50s.
So we get to see Jordan Whittington, he's healthy again for now. So that's exciting. Hopefully he can stay healthy.
Right.
He's going to be needed this game because, I mean, last year all of our success came through like receivers making good plays and, Sam extending plays and throwing it to like Brennan Eagles downfield and stuff like that. So we need Jake Smith, Josh Moore, and Jordan Whittington all at full speed, 100%, if we want to, win this game the way we should. Because, I mean, if our passing game's not on, and like you said, if Sam is, having one of his games where he's just missing open receivers, and then the O-line's not helping them, we're not going to win. Like Iowa State's too well coached of a team. They're too gritty. Their defense is too good, and they have a good quarterback and running back.
Yeah.
We're going to have to earn this win.
Right.
We can't play our B game and win this. We have to play our A game if we want to. Because, we won, like, we control our own destiny, all that. They have the same exact situation. They control their own destiny.
Even more so than us because they only have one Big 12 loss in Oklahoma State. They have two on the season, but that was to Louisiana Lafayette, so it doesn't even count.
Right. So they need this win, like, just as much as us. So, I mean, Matt Campbell's been, circling that tier of being like a Big 12 championship contender, like in November and December, and he's there right now. He's got to make that step and get to Arlington. So we'll see. It's just like Matt Campbell and Tom Herman just going at it. I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because he's had those, especially at the beginning of his career at Iowa State when he was doing really well with the team. He was getting a lot of looks as being the, next up and coming guy to get a big coaching job. And this year seems to be the year that he has the team to do it with a lot of upperclassmen. And I'm not really sure how their recruiting looks or who's in the wings for their team, but kind of like a Baylor of maybe not quite like a Baylor last year. That was a lot of upperclassmen, but in many regards, kind of like that is like a win now team that this has to be the year that they get it done. It'll be interesting to see their mentality coming into this game. It is big, and this game has big implications for the Big 12 championship, being that it's looking like Oklahoma's just going to roll through everyone at this point. They've definitely found their edge. They destroyed Oklahoma State in the Bedlam game. Just not even a competition. Mike Gundy special. I think whoever wins this game more than likely will meet them in the Big 12 championship. I mean, I guess you gotta think about West Virginia too, and Oklahoma State isn't fully out of it yet, but it's looking to be that in that way, being that these two teams are probably in the top four of the Big 12. So whoever wins has that, in their back pocket against, win against one of each other. So.
Right. Yeah, definitely high stakes on the line. And that's usually good for Tom Herman, I think. at least this week.
Yeah.
That won't be good next week against Kansas State because his guard will be down at that point, and we'll be probably in trouble in Manhattan. So this is a big opportunity for the Texas defensive line in general, just to continue flexing their muscles. We've seen it really since Tom Herman got here with Puna Ford and Charlie. Got to give credit to Charlie Strong for bringing Puna in, but we're really getting a lot of respect recruiting wise and NFL wise. I mean, Puna, Charles Amenahu, and we're getting defensive linemen some more notice. And we always played Chuba Hubbard well. The last 2 years, we shut him down defensively. Joseph Osai, Taquan Graham, and if we can shut down Breece Hall, and slow him down like in a big emphatic way, like we have been with Chuba, that's another chance for Taquan Graham, a guy who's kind of a fringe NFL guy, to work his way into maybe the late pick, and Osai to just continue rising his stock, and just bringing more value to the Texas defensive line just as in general. So I enjoy watching that because it's been a while since we've had like a respectable D line really, and since like the Colt days. So I don't know. I really want to see our D line just continue to just go out there and just dominate because we got a lot of young talent too. So I want this to be just like a trend where it just keeps like going and going and going and going, where we have just like NFL defensive linemen, and I think Friday's a good stepping stone to continue that momentum. So I just wanted to put that out there.
No, that's an excellent point. I agree. The only issue on our end is that we aren't getting enough. Especially if it's like a 4-man front, like you got to have 4 really good guys. I mean, you don't have to, I guess. You can get away with having, like 2 really elite guys and a couple like good guys, but like, I mean, if we really want to take that next step and be like comparable to a Bama or a Clemson, you really got to have good recruiting across the board on the defensive line.
Right. And that was more in the context of how bad Texas has been recently.
Exactly.
Obviously, we're not like even
Baby
close
steps.
to Bama level. So
Right.
I mean, that's just showing how like our expectations have lowered under Herman and Strong. So yeah,
Exactly.
Sadly, that's what I'm excited about.
Right. Yep. I guess we'll go ahead and hop into Texas then, attacking this game from that side. So I guess we kind of touched on our defense, on our defensive line, potentially, if we have a big game, that'll mean a lot. And we'll need to, because that's such a key part of our defense this year in stopping the run. Like we said, linebacker, that'll be also a big key when it comes to us being able to control their tight ends and seeing if we can hold up in that slightly weak spot. And then, and then our secondary. I guess we kind of touched on our now that I reflect on it, I think we have kind of subtly touched on what we need to do to win on a defensive side. Any other talking points in regards to that?
Give me your defensive MVP prediction, for
the game
Friday. Yeah.
I want to see Overshown. Because I'm very curious to see how he builds off of that big West Virginia game. Because that was a big game for him. I mean, he's steadily been showing more flashes, ever since the Oklahoma game. That was like a big game for him, and then he's steadily been coming out more and more. With what we're going to see in Iowa State, with them likely attacking the middle, he's going to have the opportunity to make a lot of big plays. Of course, there's Osai and the rest of our defensive line, but I think that if we win this game, we'll have to have good linebacker play, and Juwan Mitchell I think will also do pretty well. But Overshown I think is slowly becoming a star for our team. So that's who I say you should watch out for. Big number 0 on the defensive side.
Yeah, you mentioned Juwan Mitchell. That's who I think is going to have a big day for us. We're
Really?
going to need him to have a big day. Just with their 3-headed monster definitely occupies more of the middle of the field than the outside. With Kohler, Breece Hall, and Brock Purdy. Mm-hmm. So I think definitely the linebacking core is going to be targeted and needed to have big plays. And Juwan Mitchell is a guy who like he shows so many great signs, but then he like gets ejected and stuff. So
Yeah.
he needs to not target and play discipline. But super talented, super fast. Which he's just like a prototypical Big 12 linebacker. So
Yeah.
I'm expecting our linebackers to have a big day, and we need them to because they got a tough challenge ahead. So
Let's talk about offense. I'm curious to see how our offensive line is going to do, being that they played so well, like the best they've played all season by far against West Virginia. Even then, it didn't necessarily translate to points. I think that was more of a Sam issue than it was an offensive line issue. But I really wonder if that trend will continue or if that was like a one-time showing from them. And granted, that was an incredible week to show that because West Virginia has a really good defensive line. Iowa State's isn't quite as good, but it's still a very good line. It's not a slouch line by any means. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on the offensive line?
yeah, I don't know what to expect. I mean, we played well against West Virginia, which actually is encouraging because they do have a good D line.
Right.
But we're playing the 3-man front now, and it's just way different look. You get just a whole different, really like a whole different defense you're dealing with. You get DBs, linebackers coming from different angles. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, if we could take another step forward, that'd be great for Herman, just for his sake. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect. They have good players in their front seven. They always do. And but then again, we do, especially like I said, if it's raining, we absolutely have to play good on the offensive line to win this game. So
Right.
it's kind of like two immovable objects meet or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, your guess is good as mine. I'm hopefully Kerstetter and the right side, Denzel Okafor, Christian Jones can play discipline because that's what I think that's more important than the sacks. Honestly, just all the I mean, because Sam has time a lot. Even in our bad games, Sam has enough time sometimes, or enough of the time. But it's just like the late hits, the blocks in the backs, the holdings. Those are what kill the drives, in my opinion, more so. So I don't know. We'll
effort
see.
penalties.
Yeah, the effort penalties.
Right. Running backs. Do we know if Bijan is starting again, or has that not been released yet? I've not heard anything personally.
Yeah, there hasn't been like an announcement on the depth chart, I don't think, but he's got to be starting. I mean, Herman in his press conference came out and said like Bijan Robinson's averaging like X amount, like most in the country, yards per carry or something weird like that, some weird stat that he knew. So Herman and Yurcich are definitely aware that the offense works better with Bijan, and Roshan's still a little hollowed up. I think Herman said, and Keontae is coming back from the injury, so you got to start Bijan, and I expect him to. But yeah, I haven't heard any confirmation on it, but I'm pretty sure it's his job at least for now.
Yeah, and regardless, expect a lot of rotation because that's what this coaching staff heartily believes in for whatever reason. Even though I think literally everyone else in the country is very much, raising an eyebrow at that decision because they do so everywhere. They do it and I get it for defense. Like defense is one thing, but from the offensive side of the ball, the amount of rotation to the running backs and wide receivers is just, I don't know. I think a lot of people make the argument that it's hurting, our team and not allowing the chemistry the in-game chemistry to really take off. And I don't know. It's interesting to think about, but they aren't going to – I don't see them changing this game, being that they haven't done so all year. I think that's just going to be their MO, unfortunately.
Yep. It is what it is. It's what we are at this point.
Right. So, yeah, running backs, and then we got receivers. Brendan Eagles had a great game last year when we played Iowa State. He was definitely kind of the shine amongst, that heartbreaking loss that very easily could have been a win, in my opinion. So I'm curious if he'll bounce back and, take over this game. Josh Moore is back, like we said. I'm excited to see Whittington again. Hopefully he gets some looks, and maybe we can do a few gadget plays with him, especially if it's raining out. It'll be important to kind of ground and pound it away, but maybe do so in a creative regard. Maybe some screens, see if the screen game is there. I think I mentioned with y'all last week that we need to do way more screens to Bijan, get him out in space instead of just running him up at the middle all the time. Because the dude, whenever he gets in space, he as we saw from the West Virginia game, he can make plays once he gets going. You just got to get him going. So I don't know. I think, and I wonder if the screen game is going to really show up a lot in this game with the weather.
Yeah, screen game, and drag routes. That's all I want. That's all I want.
And we saw plenty of that. We saw plenty of that, last year. Probably too much of it, honestly. But yeah, this game probably will be key, as long as it's not overly obvious. I think that's the key, because last year it was overly obvious, and that's why we got a lot of offensive woes, in a majority of 2019, probably the halfway point and on after OU. Everyone seemed to figure it out. Sam, hopefully he's, well, I was going to say hopefully he's taken all this time off to just recover and stuff, but Herman, enthusiastically said, no, he's taking all the snaps, and he's, constantly getting, time in, and he's not hurt and stuff. But I'm like, why? just let the dude rest. Because if he is like slightly hurt and you're trying to cover that up, like, let him rest. I mean, maybe that's showing that he isn't hurt at all and he's just having a really bad senior year, which is very sad for, a player that's so beloved at our school and started out, with so much promise. So I don't know. I'm curious to see if he's going to, start, hitting some targets a little bit better and throwing some more accurate throws. My head says no, being that I haven't seen it since the first game of the year. Who was that? UTEP. Since UTEP, I haven't really, and maybe Tech, I haven't seen like that pinpoint accuracy. So I don't expect to see it, unfortunately. But that'd be nice if we did see it in this game. He just needs to. Him and the receivers. I think it's more him than the receivers at this point. I could be totally wrong with that, but it just looks like he's really overthrowing them. It's definitely a two-way street, though, with communication and in that regard.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like we're talking in circles about Sam every week. I think he's just gotten worse. That's what it is. The receivers have gotten worse around him, and he's gotten worse. I guess he's healthy. I'll take Tom Herman at face value. So, I mean, yeah, I guess he just has having a bad year. Is not comfortable with the receivers and the offense. So, yeah.
Yep. Last points, Dicker the kicker. He is not only our kicker, he is our punter, Dicker the punter. That'll be something to look out for, especially if it's a rainy game. From what we've heard in practice, it sounds like he's not going to be like an Australian punter like Buchevsky, to where he's hitting bombs, but hopefully just is able to serve up some serviceable punts that aren't horrible shanks, or hopefully no fumbles and stuff. We all know that he's a pretty accurate kicker, but then again, he's a college kicker. College kickers are not NFL kickers. They are prone to mistake. So definitely watch out for Dicker. I wonder if, that's just something to look out for. See if there's any big plays that develop off of that. Anything about Dicker?
No, I'm excited to see him. It's going to be fun to see him out there. So, no, I think I'm ready for predictions. If you are.
Yeah, I think so. I don't really have any more. Do we need to talk anything about coaching? You'd say, probably not. We talk about coaching all the time.
They have the coaching edge on us, I would say. but we have Chris Ash, so that has to count for something.
Right. Right. Okay, well, let's hop in to predictions then.
All right, I'll go first. You know what? This is a pick'em game for me, and I think on the betting line it was pretty close to a pick'em. I think it's Texas -2 right now,
Yep.
but at one point I saw it as a pick'em. So I'm gonna take Iowa State just because whenever it's this close. Like I'm just gonna take the opponent because usually I'm wrong. So maybe I'll reverse jinx it,
There you go.
and
Yeah.
Texas will win. But it's gonna be a very low scoring game in my opinion. A lot of just runs and stuff. I do think that the weather will play a factor, but either way, I think Iowa State just wants to slow it down against us and make us run the ball. Don't let us go downfield, and then they're going to run at us with Brees Hall and Kenny Nwangu. So I'm going to take Iowa State to win 28-27, and we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if we do lose this game, it'll get really interesting behind the scenes and stuff like that. But if we do win, then we're right in the square for the Big 12 hunt, Big 12 title hunt. But like you said, OU surging, and it's very scary. So yeah, I got Iowa State winning by 1.
Cool. I got us winning this game, kind of like I hinted at the beginning of our recording here, that I'm not overly. I mean, It's not like I'm not concerned about this game. I am, but I do feel confident that Texas will be able to pull this one out. I do think it'll be close. I have currently 34-31 Texas, kind of low scoring, like you said. But I do think that there'll be a lot of, even if the weather is bad, I do think that these teams aren't going to fully stray away from airing out the ball. And I do think that, I mean, especially considering how well Iowa State played last week, I do think that there'll be points up on the board, and that'll force Texas to have to air it out and put points up on the board if Iowa State's scoring a lot. So medium scoring game. I think Texas edges it out just with the home advantage and backs against the wall and a key matchup. Those always the big games seem to be the ones that this team performs the best on. And yeah, but it's going to be close because we're Texas in 2020. Every game is close except UTEP.
Yeah, so. except UTEP. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm very curious about this whole game Friday. So
definitely one to watch.
All right, so let's talk recruiting. It's not going how we want it to go.
Saying it nicely.
It's really been actually pretty bad this year. So we're going to kind of some things happened this week that just we have to talk about it. So, Quinn Ewers obviously was committed to Texas for about a month and a half, 2 months, and then he saw the on-field product and he said, "Nope, I'm not going there anymore." So he went to Ohio State. And the thing about this whole situation is Quinn Ewers was actively committed to Texas, trying to get other Texas 5-stars to come with him. Like Caleb Burton, Amari Winfield, Evan Stewart, all these guys, these really talented guys in a really loaded class of 2022. And no one would buy into it. No one would commit. No one would follow him. They were all hesitant. They were skeptical. So Ewers realized he couldn't do it here. He doesn't have the pull to Texas that he could have at a school like Ohio State, which is just mind-blowing because Ohio State's I don't know, over 1,000 miles away. And so he committed to Ohio State, and then this week Caleb Burton, a 5-star wide receiver out of Austin, Texas, pretty much, commits to Ohio State as well. And then he goes on Twitter and tweets, "We're bringing more Texas kids too to Ohio State." So
right.
the top 2 kids in Texas are committed to Ohio State. And it's just, this is all just after J.K. Dobbins, Garrett Wilson, who I will, that guy's from Columbus. I understand that. Donovan Jackson, Jackson Smith, Jigba, Jeff Okuda, all these guys, Baron Browning. So it's such a problem. And it feels like it's getting worse. The trend is getting worse. The floodgates have opened. And I don't know, man. That's why the whole season is just a really weird spot because – sure, we're eking out wins, and that's good. We're 5-2. It's not horrible, but just the bigger picture is very alarming. What do you think about recruiting, Trevor?
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, it definitely seems to be trending in the wrong direction. And it's not even just, Ohio State that's stealing recruits. Oklahoma, as we've been saying, in probably the past three shows that we've done, we've been talking about, yeah, Oklahoma's really surging. A&M is as well with, with their newfound success. Um, it's just not an attractive place right now to be. And I think the 2019 season was really a big indicator because, I mean, if you look at the history, after that Sugar Bowl win, I mean, it looked like everyone was coming to Texas. I mean, the 2020 class had talks to being like the number one in the country. Of course, that has completely gone in the crapper. I mean, it's not number one. It's not even top 20 probably at this point. So yeah, that trend has continued to go down, and yours was our not last hope because we're not dead yet. But I mean, he was a massive get for Texas, and then when we lost him and he committed to Ohio State, it was really, I mean, it's not our worst nightmare come true, but are we surprised? I'm not. Is it disheartening? Absolutely, but I think that goes to speak that to all the reasons why our channel is so such a strong believer in that the Herman regime is not going to work long term. May it work this year? Sure. We may very well compete for a Big 12 championship and maybe win it. You never know how championship games go. They can always be up and down, but yeah, with the future of this program, just not doing it. We're not developing enough draft picks. Maybe that'll come this year with Joseph Asai and some of these other guys. But after that point, I don't see. I don't know. It's just not enough sustain. We needed to capitalize in 2019. We needed to ride that tidal wave, and I don't think people are talking about enough how big of a failure that was and how big of a detriment that it is to the future of our program, because it was an uphill climb. We were not at the mountaintop. We were halfway to the top of the mountain, and we needed to continue that. And we were starting to go that way. The LSU game was really close, and then once we hit Oklahoma, it just crashed. And we're trying to recover now. And then the TCU losses and the Oklahoma loss from this year just plummeted it even more. We're in a bad spot. Point said. And I don't see this coaching staff recovering from it. I really don't. If they do, props to them, because I don't know how you can do it at this point.
Right, exactly. And I know we said this before. Herman hired developers, not recruiters. So the ceiling for this staff's recruiting abilities is already like here. And I mean, we're not at the ceiling right now, but I mean, it's just very bad. I mean, go through the class, just a bunch of 3 stars. We have Jatavion Sanders still committed, which is awesome. We need to keep him. He's probably the best player in the state, in my opinion.
He may leave.
Yeah, there's definitely chatter about that, and if he leaves, oh my God, it'll get really ugly. But yeah, definitely on pace to be the worst class we've had non-transition in a long time. A lot of 3 stars, a lot of just like guys we've had to take after missing on our first and second option guys. So
yeah,
it's very disappointing. And people will say, I've seen this a lot on Twitter recently, like, oh, it's 2020, you can't lock down the state in the modern era of college football with Bama dominating in Ohio State and A&M going to the SEC. They opened the floodgates to the SEC and LSU and all that.
Yeah.
I challenge that because, I mean, in 2018, Tom Herman, his first full year when he's selling his sunshine and rainbow, the vision, the hopes and dreams that haven't come true, but he sold them to these young, like the class of 2018. And he landed 6 of the top 7 players in Texas, and I think it's 11 of the top 15. Mm-hmm. That's locking down the state. He did it in 2018. Now picture this. Now imagine we hire Urban Meyer. He comes here and does what he does. He brings his rings, his trophies with him, and then he takes us to a Big 12 championship, and then we're in the playoff. I don't know, year 1, year 2. you don't think Urban Meyer could lock down the state like Herman did with the hopes
Yeah,
and dreams? But let's say Urban actually has on-field results.
he could lock it down like Mac did. I mean,
But
he's the reason. Urban Meyer's the reason why these kids are going to Ohio State. I mean, he's not coaching there anymore, but he Ohio State wasn't recruiting Texas until Urban got there, and he's like, why don't we look at Texas? They have some of the best players in the country. Why don't we go there? And they're like, oh, well, we don't go to Texas. Texas is Texas territory. But he changed that narrative. So yeah, for anyone that I don't think anyone's debating if he could lock down the state, but I know for a fact he could.
yeah,
Well, will there still be some other recruiting from other schools? Yeah, I do think that in the modern era is going to exist more so than it did in previous eras. But I do think that if Urban's at Texas, I mean, it'll be like Mac, because that guy can recruit just as well as he can develop and win championships. He's a recruiter. He's got the skins on the wall. There's no reason that we couldn't lock down, like you said.
yeah, he prioritizes recruiting more so than like scheme and all that. You'll see him on interviews and such, just saying like it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmy and Joes, and that's so true. And he's definitely aware of that. So it's just I don't know, man, because the 2022 class is already getting the look that you go down the line at all these like top. It's a really top heavy class for Texas. A lot of top end talent in the state, and you go down one by one, and it seems like every week just check one off that's not coming to Texas now, and it just kind of gets that same feel that 2021 is having, or 2021's already done. It's already a wasted class that we've punted on, and 2020 was a lot like that too. Luckily, we got Bijan out of state, to kind of make it look a lot better than it was. But yeah, I just feel like our in-state ability to recruit is getting worse under Herman. And I don't know what a Big 12 championship would do for these guys, these
Nothing.
recruits, because it's not like the Big 12 is the SEC. It's not some rainmaker, especially this year. It's not a big bad conference. It's more similar to like the Pac-12 and the ACC and the American this year. So yeah, I mean, we could win the Big 12 title, put the number on the wall, which I would love. I'm tired of seeing just 3 Big 12 titles in PKR.
2009.
It's embarrassing. So I would love that.
Yeah.
But it's just like if we want to go where we want to go, and for me, where I want to go is I want to be, competitive with OU, where we're like trading Big 12 titles, not even winning them all, just like trading them like back and forth, like it should be, like we did kind of in Mac's era. Even Mac had trouble, getting past Bob
He did.
Stoops.
Yeah.
But like in the Big 12, like it frustrates me because the Big 12 it's a really weird situation right now. There's 10 teams. It's not a very good conference, and we're not taking advantage of it. We're just letting OU just run it up, just get all these titles, and we're not like giving them any pushback. So I don't know. We have the ability to bring talent here like no other. I mean, the biggest brand in the country, most money in the country. Austin, Texas is a draw for pretty much all recruits. Just compare it to like most college towns. I mean, not every kid will love Austin, Texas, but the majority will. So
Right.
It's very frustrating, and I just can't believe that we're the University of Texas and recruiting at such a low level, and there's no improvement in sight with Herman. So just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah. And no, I agree that I don't think winning a Big 12 title is going to do anything too much to these recruits, especially these ones that are in these two classes, 2021 and 22, because they're looking more at the future. That's one thing that people that are that whenever they want to hear more about recruiting and stuff, like, well, what are they looking for? They're looking for what will it look like when I'm there. How is this team trending? Who else is committing to Texas? Not what just happened. It's about the future, and the future right now is not looking good. So why would you hop onto a sinking ship? Especially, I mean, yeah, the rumors about Tom Herman, they hurt. But that also isn't an excuse for Herman to say that our recruiting is hurting right now because there's rumors going on. Like, dude, is college football. Like, have you not watched or been around college football? Like, negative recruiting has existed as long as recruiting has existed. And rumors, yeah, that's college football, dude. So that whole argument, I think, is just ridiculous, especially for the fans that are blaming other fans for the reason that, these players are decommitting. It's not the fan bases. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's a big problem, man. It is a problem because as more commits and leave, like top recruits leave and we get more 3-stars, it just kind of sets us up for in the future. Just the trajectory just doesn't look great. I mean, Herman did bring in some talent at first in 2018 when he was selling hopes and dreams, but ever since then, it's not on the field. It hasn't been great, and on the recruiting trail, it's been a lot worse. So, I mean, we'll see where it goes from here. I'm really curious because 2021 is the lost cause, but I wonder if we maybe won the Big 12 title of 2022 with Herman could be better. But I just don't have a lot of belief in the staff, just personnel wise. Like there's not like Mark Hagan, like all these dudes. Like these aren't recruiters. These are G5 dudes that like these aren't the rainmakers like the Tosh Lapoli, Larry Johnson, all these guys from like Ohio State and stuff. Those are rainmaker recruiters, from the SEC. So it's frustrating, man, because they'll use cranking it up recruiting wise, and so is A&M. So
right,
yeah,
without a doubt, definitely something to be concerned about. All the more reason why we keep saying that. Let's really consider getting rid of Herman after this season. It's just, yeah, the reasons are endless in our opinions. So
right, and go get Urban Meyer, baby.
You have to.
You know the vibe.
You have to, man. He's available.
Solution is right there, man. It's there.
He's the fix. I still don't understand the people that are not fully on board with it. Like even if Herman was doing well, like I get keeping team chemistry, but you cannot deny that Urban Meyer is not an obvious upgrade. There are only like 3 coaches in the country that would say like, no matter what, go get him. It's him, Nick Saban, and Dabo. Every other coach, I would not say just fire Herman before his contract is up because he's not doing well. And one of them is available. So, I mean, maybe like if it was like an elite NFL coach that came in, maybe, I'd count him too. But to my awareness, there's no really good NFL coaches that are looking to potentially leave at the moment. So go with the made man.
Yeah, we're not saying fire Herman just to fire Herman and go hire another hot shot. We're saying fire Herman to go land a top 3 coach in the country with national championships and recruiting, brass, and just such an upgrade, just such a solution to the issues we're dealing with. So yeah, because I mean, if we missed on Urban, like I'd be fine, I guess, with standing pat with Herman,
right?
Recruiting blows, maybe Del Conte makes him go hire some rainmaker recruiters, but I mean, I just think Urban is just such a better solution. So
no, I agree that if we don't, if the season ended and we looked at getting Urban and he ultimately stood strong with, saying no to the Texas job, then yeah, probably the best. Because it's not like I'm dying for another coach. I don't want PJ Fleck. I especially don't want, why am I blanking on his name? The Penn State coach, Aaron Franklin. Yeah, I don't want him right now either. I don't want an up-and-coming coach. I don't want to start over unless it's with a made man like Urban or, like I said, Nick or Dabo. But Nick and Dabo are not going to leave. There's no reason for them to. So, yep, that's what I'm at. That's where I think most Texas fans at, unless you're just a Herman lover. So,
right, yeah. I wonder what Chris Del Conte's thinking these days. I mean, he's very quiet about everything. So
He is. And
I've
I
been
think
sending him emails, so hopefully he's reading those.
he's playing a dangerous game, I think, because at some point he's going to have to speak up. And I mean, to me, in my mind, I think he's really just waiting for Tom to finally lose. But I mean, they're on a long winning streak at this point, and if they beat Iowa State, um, yeah, they very much can win out and run the table and get to the Big 12 title game. And at that point, he'll have to say something. So, yeah, he needs to talk. So the question is, what does he say? That's the question. But that's why he makes the big dollars,
Right. I just hope we don't go down the path of, just optics. We're UT, we're Cal Berkeley, we're going to stand pat. Football is just one of our many, awesome features. So we're not going to go hire Urban Meyer and spend
Right.
$10 million. I hope we don't do that because like you said, no one sees the University of Texas is like a Cal Berkeley. Although we do have good academics, that'll always be there. But
So does Michigan.
yeah,
No
we're a
one's, no
football
one,
school.
nobody talks about. I mean, unless you're like from Michigan, no one talks about Michigan as I mean, everyone. I think most people know that Michigan's a great school, much like Texas is. But whenever people think Michigan, they're not thinking, "Oh, what a great school," and they so happen
Yeah.
to have a football team. It's Michigan, just like Texas is Texas. Like that's always going to be there. And I don't think anyone like when they hired Jim Harbaugh, I think the whole nation was like, great hire, way to go, you got your guy, awesome. Like no one was like, oh, you spent too much money, what are you doing? Like, do you not care about your academics? No one gives a crap about that because everyone knows that football ultimately runs things, especially in at these historically blue blood schools. So yeah, I don't think there's any problem with us spending a lot of money and getting Urban Meyer, but we'll have to see what our administration says about that.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, man. I'm so ready for it. I'm so ready for like just that breakthrough moment where we're just back. So
Yeah.
we'll, hopefully we get a nice Christmas present, get a little Urban Meyer under the tree. That'd be unstoppable. So
Yes. Best Christmas ever.
all right, Trevor, want to close this out? Anything else we got to get off our chest? Or are we all good?
I think we're all good, man. Wishing everyone out there a happy Thanksgiving. If you're watching this on this short week notice, being that it's only a few days because we got the early game on Friday, you are the best. You are the MVP. Wishing y'all a happy Thanksgiving. Shout out to Matt Madrid that could not join us tonight. Hope he's doing well too. And hopefully all three of us are all finally back together when we preview the K-State game in the upcoming week. With all that said, please subscribe, like, comment per usual. Y'all are great. And let's hope for a big Texas win on Friday.